Welcome to the Studio Chat podcast. My name is Barbara Thompson. Each week, I'll be bringing you a self-care expert or a message to help you to discover how to live your best life and understand your mind-body connection. Thanks for spending some time with me today. Now, let the Studio Chat begin. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Studio Chat podcast. My name is Barbara Thompson, and I'm the host. And I'm so happy to have you join us today because today is episode 81 and it's our last episode for this year, 2023. And I'm joined by Kate, and Kate was last on my podcast, episode 38. And today we're on episode 81. So I'd love to have a warm welcome for Kate. Hello.
Hello. Thank you for having me back. I'm really excited to be here again on this episode. I can't believe it was episode 31, was it?
38.
38, sorry. Wow.
And it was September. I actually had a look at the date. It was September last year.
Crazy. Yeah. No, thank you so much. For being back again.
You know, what we're going to talk about today is near and dear to my heart, and it's very special for so many reasons for me and for my listeners. You are a narcissistic abuse therapist. Can you tell me a little bit more about that before we dive into this episode? Like, what is a narcissistic abuse therapist?
Yes. So probably as the name suggests, I specialise in narcissistic abuse. So I specialise in working with people who have been abused by a narcissist. And often they don't even know at the time that they may have dealt with a narcissist. They might be really early on in their journey. They may still be in a relationship with a narcissist. And a lot of the times they don't know that what they've experienced is actually abuse, because it is abuse. So I work with the client. It's very holistic. It uses a combination of talk therapy, which I really believe in, because we need to have our story validated to know that we're not crazy. But then I also combine some other therapies as well that go into that subconscious part of the brain and the body as well, because we know that's where the results of abuse, which is trauma, we know that's where it gets stored. And often it's not a rational thing that we can kind of talk our way out of. So kind of combination that I use when I work with clients.
Yeah, I love that. And it's a holistic approach. And I think the connection just cut out a little bit there. So I just want to repeat that people come to you to hear their story or what they're going through validated back to them, because sometimes they feel like they're being crazy, or it's just a bit of a weird situation that no one will understand. So today is all about the holiday season, and that's what I'd love to talk to you about today. Is we're coming up to the end of the year, and there's so many celebrations and events and all sorts of gatherings, and I'd love to do this episode in two parts today. So the first part, we're going to talk about how narcissists often act leading up to this time of year, and going through some strategies we can share with people to help them maintain their own peace and energy, and also how we react when a narcissist is being abusive to us and how it reacts to our nervous system, how it's a nervous system trauma response. And you're going to give us a couple of strategies to manage that. And then I'll talk about part 2 later. So let's dive straight into how narcissists often act leading up to holidays. What does that look? I know what that looks like, but I'd love you to share, like, what does that look like from your perspective?
So narcissists are notorious for any kind of event. So things like birthdays, anniversaries, and obviously big one, the holiday period, in creating this sense of drama. So we often see when it comes to the lead up to the holiday period, there's drama that comes with a narcissist. And when we think about it, the reason why they do this with the holiday season in particular is because a narcissist is driven by emotional supply, okay? So if you think about the Christmas Day, for example, I believe that they often create this drama so it becomes back towards them. So if you think about people's special events, so the holiday period is a special event, or somebody's birthday is a special event, and the focus isn't on the narcissist so much anymore. It might be on the event. It might be around other family members. It might be around the children on the day and giving presents. And so the narcissist senses that, oh, the attention, the spotlight's no longer on me. So what am I going to do? Because I need that emotional supply in order to feel whole. And so I will create drama in order to get that attention back onto me. So we see this all the time when it comes to the holiday period. They create this drama. Maybe they'll say to you, well, I'm not going to the family Christmas this year, and then you're stressed about it. Or they go and they cause issues and they won't talk to certain people, all sorts of things and tactics that they use, all in an attempt to get that attention back onto them, because we know that narcissists thrive on positive attention and negative attention as well, which seems really crazy. But if they are creating drama and chaos and causing fights, and causing you stress and causing fights between you and them, and that's negative attention, they still thrive on that. So we see this all the time leading up to holidays.
And leading up to holidays too, they can act like their normal selves. And then I found that it's usually on the day, the night of, or the day, in my experience, where gosh, I have so many examples, but let me just pick one example for you. On a Christmas event. Oh, yeah, two ways. So one, I can remember on a Christmas event, the partner at the time, I had everyone coming to the house. He just decided to go on a 3 or 4 day drinking bender. So he was just no longer there. And he was going to do the barbecue for me. He was going to do the drinks for me. And obviously nothing's open on Christmas Day. So he was going to do everything, and I'd left some of that stuff up to him, and then he just wasn't there. And I was like, oh, cool. So I've got all these people coming, and that's what he wanted. And he went off and did his thing. But it could also, if someone's listening to this, it could also be that one Christmas I stayed at a girlfriend's house on Christmas Eve to do a fun girls' night, and he was fine with the plans. Cool, you go have fun with the girls. That's amazing. Come back, get the train down on Christmas morning, come down, all the family. His family was going to come to our house. And everything was fine. It was all good. So I had fun with the girls on Christmas Eve in Sydney, caught the train on Christmas morning, walked into the house, and I just walked into this, when you walk into a room, it's just a shitty atmosphere, and everyone looked at me like, oh, Barbara's here. And I was like, hi, guys. And I could feel like, whoa, what's happening here? And he pulled me aside and goes, I told you to be here early, and it's all your fault, and you should be here, and all my family's here. So when we talk about creating drama and stuff, it can just look so different. So here he had said it's fine to go, and I went. But then when I walked in, everything was my fault, and I had done everything wrong. And the times all agreed, but I was too late. And then he was huffing and puffing, and then he'd got everyone on his side rather than my side. So everyone was like giving me shit on Christmas Day. It was absolutely horrible.
Miserable to have that. And see, then it becomes all about them, and then you're miserable. And it is a deliberate attempt to, they don't want to see you happy on Christmas Day and joyous and all of those things. So what are we going to do? Oh, we're going to create a fight, and we're going to create a rift, and we're going to make Barbara feel really bad about herself. And then you probably found yourself, I don't know, but we often find ourselves trying to fix it, trying to make it better, trying to cover up. So they don't show up. They go on that 3-day bender, and you're there with all this family, and you don't want to admit what's going on. So you cover for them.
Yes. Yeah.
And try to fix it, or you end up apologizing to the narcissist because you just want to make it better. You just want to smooth it over because you can't understand really the dynamics at play. You don't really understand what's happening. But if you really sit back and analyze it, you will see a pattern with a narcissist in your life. You will see this pattern around holiday periods, around anniversaries, and around birthdays, any of those special events. You find 9 times out of 10, narcissists will destroy it in some sense.
And when you talk about the holiday season too, a lot of people go away. A lot of people have blended families. There's little people involved. And when there's events like, I hear it all the time, when there's people that have children and they're really excited to go on a holiday or something, and then the narcissist who's not part of the family but will see the child often, will know that the ex-partner and the child's really looking forward to something, and they will make sure they do something to stop that holiday, or they will make sure that they'll hurt themselves and end up in hospital, or worse things that they'll do to stop the other person from moving on and having some form of life, but some form of a happy, enjoyable life.
Yeah, absolutely. They don't want to treat you right when they're with you, but then they don't want you to move on either and have a happy life, because deep down a narcissist, we know, is truly miserable on the inside. Okay. They don't feel like a whole person. And so they need that either positive admiration from others or the negative fuel as well, to be bringing other people down to their level in order to feel some sort of sense of wholeness. And I don't even think we can use the word wholeness, but in order to feel something.
Yeah, that's a compliment for one of them.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some strategies. So if someone's listening to this and they may think that they have a toxic person or a narcissist in their life, what are some strategies that you can share with us that can help us to maintain our own peace and our energy during the holiday season?
So boundaries is the key, okay? And that's going to look different for everybody depending on their situation. Boundaries are personal. They're the things that we set for ourselves in order to teach people how we want them to treat us. But I guess with a narcissist, so often what I say is make sure that you limit your time with them. If it's like a family member or something like that, limiting your time. If it's a partner and you are still in that relationship, that can be really difficult. So, you're starting to see, yeah, I think they might be a narcissist. I'm seeing this pattern here. So sometimes just knowing the pattern, knowing that you can expect these reactions from the narcissist, because they do all play out like a textbook. Narcissists, I see it with my clients, they basically they do the same thing, and it's just crazy. And so they all use the same textbook. So sometimes just preparing yourself that this is going to happen can actually really help, because often what we find is we're in that mindset when we don't know what the behavior is and we don't really know what's happening to us and we don't understand. We find ourselves in this situation where we're like, how could they do this? I don't understand. How could they do this to me? And that in itself is so damaging for our self-esteem and our self-worth. So when we really start to know, okay, this is the textbook play that they're going to use, and it's not about me, okay, it's not my fault, that can really help. The other thing that I always really suggest is making sure that you are doing the things that can help to regulate your nervous system. And I know we're going to touch on this as well, but it's a nervous system response. And you probably would have found when you're in those situations yourself, we get anxious when they put us into this situation and we want to go into fix mode and we blame ourselves for the situation. And you often feel it in your chest, you feel your heart racing, you feel clammy, you might feel hot. That's a trauma response. So making sure that you use these strategies to regulate yourself. So on Christmas Day, make sure that you go with, and something I teach my clients, your toolbox of calming strategies that you can use. Things like breathing, slowing your breathing down, which sounds crazy. People are like, but I breathe all the time.
Yeah.
Which we do. But when you're in a trauma response, when you were with a narcissist, just shallow breathing all the time. We know this because you're in this trauma response, and so you can't deep breathe because your body is prepping you for fight or flight all the time. So slowing your breathing down, even as simple as that, deep, slow breaths on Christmas Day leading up to it, when you're having to deal with a narcissist in that moment, taking that time and stepping away and slowing your breathing down will really help you to regulate your nervous system, because your body will go, okay, we don't have to be in a trauma response. We're not prepping for fight or flight. And that can almost, is what I often say, it gets you back online a little bit. When we're dealing with a narcissist and we go into that trauma response, we literally kind of go offline. We become irrational. We go into, this chaos mode ourselves. So making sure that we can stay really centered and regulated is really key when it comes to a narcissist. And we can use all those strategies as well around making sure that we grey rock, which is being really, making sure our responses are really monotone with a narcissist. So we're basically saying to them we're not going to engage in the fight, which really helps as well.
Can you share with people that may not know what grey rock is? So when you, it's really helpful when you're sharing kids with a narcissist or someone that is newly broken up with someone, or I think they're probably the good couple of examples I can think of. But when you say a strategy is to do grey rock on them, kind of what does that mean?
Yeah, so if you're dealing with somebody, you can use it if you still have to see the narcissist. You can use it even if you're with them in a relationship. Or it's really useful when you've left the relationship. It's an ex, for example, that you share children with, or even a family member as well that wants to engage in a fight with you. Narcissists want to engage you into the fight, and we often find ourselves in these situations where they accuse us of doing something, and our automatic response is to want to go into defense mode. So I see it all the time. Clients will say they sent me this awful message, and the first response is bang, bang, bang. I'm replying straight away with all of the ways that I want to defend myself. So when we grey rock somebody, basically what we do is we basically don't give them any emotion. So it's very monotone responses. So if they say, for example, they accuse you of being something, they accuse you of being a really selfish person, they'll often accuse you of all these things that really they are. We call that projection. And then we want to go into defense mode. When we use grey rock, we will say things like, I accept that that's your opinion of me. Okay, it's monotone. And we're saying to them, we're teaching to them that I'm not necessarily agreeing with what you're saying. I can accept that that's what you want to feel, but I'm not going to engage in the argument with you. So we're automatically shutting it down. Or when they get really angry, we see narcissistic rage, saying to them, your anger is not my responsibility, and leaving it at that. Okay,
which makes them go 10 times off the charts if you were to say something like that to a narcissist.
It does initially, right? But the more that we practice this, the more that the narcissist goes, okay, wow, I'm really getting nothing here. They're not going to engage with me. And it's really hard in the beginning, especially I know with clients that it's scary to do this with a narcissist, to set those boundaries and to grey rock them and say, I'm not going to engage with you. And it's scary, and they often up the abuse for sure. But over time they learn, I'm just not getting anything here at all. So they move on to the next supply, because remember, everything a narcissist is 100% driven by what supply they get from people.
Yeah, and if someone's listening to this too, I just want to say, if someone's like, because sometimes I'll have a lot of people that listen to this podcast that are really interested about the subject, but they haven't had any dealings with a narcissist. So if you're listening to this, I'd love you to know that supply is almost, I don't know, let me know if I'm right. It's more like attention.
Yeah, it is. It's any form of attention. So we know that narcissists don't have any healthy sense of self, okay, at all. A healthy person, we all have our issues, nobody's perfect, but we have a healthy sense of self. We know who we are. We know our values. We know what feels right and wrong to us. A narcissist doesn't have that healthy sense of self. So they rely on other people to give them some sort of sense of self. And that is in the form of attention. And it can be positive and it can be negative. And people are often amazed when I say it's negative attention as well, because they go, why? Why would somebody thrive off that? But a narcissist, if you are giving them negative attention, if you're yelling at them or you're going into defense mode or you're showing that you're really upset, and I get it, it's so hard when they trigger you, but when you do that, that makes the narcissist think, wow, I'm powerful because I'm making this person upset, and that makes them feel powerful.
It's sick. It really is. It's thank you for saying that grey rock is hard. It is extremely hard because a lot of us, when we're empaths and we've been magnetized to we've drawn into a narcissistic relationship for a reason, is we're naturally loving people. We're naturally oversharers. We are really good, honest, genuine people. And I find with grey rock, the beautiful thing about it is when you give 1 or 2 word answers, yes, no, I'm good, great. A lot of the time, I'd love people, if they're listening to this, to use that strategy, because we overshare. Even with a narcissist, it's very, it's not great to, if they say, how was our weekend, or what did we do, and we whether we're together or we're apart from them, or it's a work colleague or a family member. If you and I, Kate, would have a conversation about what you and I have planned for the summer holidays, or what I'm doing this weekend, and I'm going away to this awesome little holiday house and blah, blah, blah. If I was to share that with a narcissist, what would happen is when they know too much information, they will flip it back. And not only will they flip it back and throw it back into my face, they will also use it as an, Barbara's got this event, or she's got this thing she's going to, or she's got this interest. I'm going to make sure I shit all over it and make sure that she can't go do the thing, or find a girl or a woman or a man in the group that I'm going to befriend and have a relationship. Like, they will think that the more information you give them, it gives them power. So not only does supply as attention and emotional energy, I find that with the grey rock technique, personally with myself, once I stopped telling the other person stuff about myself, once I started saying anything, it can be like, today I'm wearing yellow pants. Like, it doesn't have to be what I'm doing on the holidays. It can be anything. I buy this type of milk. I don't know. I'm really giving people simple examples to show how something simple like that. I've met a new partner and he's coming over for dinner on Tuesday night. God forbid that those kind of things to normal, healthy people, like, oh, awesome, great, have a good time. To a narcissist, it's like, great, how am I going to ruin this? How am I going to make sure I get all the attention? And how am I also going to, I've learned something else about you that I'm going to turn and project onto you. Am I making any sense?
Total sense. So yeah, anything that you give a narcissist is they use as ammunition against you, and it's so hard when you realize that narcissists exist. I mean, I had no idea prior to my journey that this even really existed. You don't understand, and sometimes I think it's to our own detriment that we're taught as children that everybody is fundamentally good. And I don't say that to be a cynic. I'm not cynical. I don't go around looking at people as being bad people. But that can be to our detriment when we truly believe that everybody is fundamentally good. And if we're taught that as children, then we're always looking for the good in people. And as empaths, we think, they've got something good about them. But when you really understand that, no, actually, narcissists don't have your best interests at heart. They don't at all. And people like this do exist in the world, unfortunately. And it's our job, especially as empaths, because we are so highly sensitive and we can have so much of our energy drained, to really understand that it is okay to protect ourselves. It's actually our birthright to protect ourselves and our energy and our gifts for the people that truly do have our best interests at heart. And, you mentioned about the oversharing, and what I really teach is for my clients to start to flip it a little bit, because they're so used to being givers and carers and oversharing and letting people into their space very quickly. And what I teach is that actually what we need to do as empaths is understand that it takes time for people to enter our inner world, and that's actually okay, and that's actually really healthy, that people need to show you over time that they are trustworthy and they have those values that you want, in order for you to let them in and share yourself and then overshare. So
And also, if we're just talking about the beginning bit a little bit, holiday season is for romance too. A lot of people find more people are out and about, more people are meeting new people. So I think this is kind of holiday season-ish too, that we talk about when people meet, a new romance, is to keep in mind that it's something that was with me, with my, I've had a few, so I can actually say all my narcissistic relationships because I've had a lot. People that have listened to this, I feel like, just in case someone is jumping on here for the first time, they're like, oh, she gets around. No. But I can't remember, I did count, I think it was 7 or 8 relationships I've had that have all been very strong narcissistic, and they've got worse over time. So with those relationships, it's interesting because narcissists show us a pattern. And the pattern that I really saw over time that was repeated to me was these men would show up in my life and give me, and some of them do, give you a beautiful first date, 1 or 2 dates, like something from a Disney movie, like ridiculously expensive, ridiculously beautiful, ridiculously, like you're scratching your head going, shit, this is wow, if this is how it starts, holy shit, this is the one, like, you know what I mean? And because I've had that happen to me many, many times, it's kind of like I always say to my clients, how someone shows up is the best someone's going to be. And you always look out for consistency. So normally with these people that I dated, the 1 or 2 dates was just off the charts. Like it wasn't real. Like you go, is this real? Babs, none of it was real. So it was so amazing. And then after the second dates, it drops off really quickly, but you hold on in a relationship for way longer than I should have on any of them because you're waiting for that beginning bit, because the beginning bit, it can be 2 dates, it can be a year, it can be 6 months. That beginning part was so dreamy and so amazing. But if you actually look back, it actually wasn't dreamy and amazing, but smoke and mirrors, it was really amazing in the moment. And then when you see the person for who they are and they start to get abusive and really horrible, you go, oh no, but the beginning part was really great and it was really amazing and those dates were so great, those summer evenings and the walks were so lovely, and we really lower our value. We really lower, oh, but he bought me a bottle of wine. Like I hear that all the time from clients, and I see myself in them because I go, and I know my standards were so low. I'd be like, oh my God, he bought me a drink. And I'm like, Barbara, boundaries, like lift your expectations, because I had such low, I didn't know what I wanted in someone. So that's a really good start for someone that if they're dating this summer, make a list of the qualities that you want in a partner. But also because I didn't have that, and I just thought everyone was a nice person, that when someone, like I'm pretty easily pleased, that won't ever change. But if someone bought me dinner or a drink, I was like, oh my God, cool, thank you. Now I'm like, no, mate, you're going to have to put it's not higher than that.
And when we believe, oh, I'm actually worthy, I am worthy of the best. It's not that if somebody buys you a drink and a dinner, you're never going to not appreciate it. You'll always appreciate it. But it's not like, oh, wow, they did that for me. No, now we start to realize, no, that's really lovely. I appreciate it, but I'm also really worthy of that too. And, but, narcissists are great at training us to, to lower our expectations. And so they throw us these crumbs of love, and then we're always starving then. And, then they'll throw the crumb and we think it's amazing because they've trained us to believe that these things that they throw to us are incredible when in reality they're not. So they're really good at that. And who wouldn't want, that amazing part that they start with? We're not to blame because they really are good at it.
Very charming, Prince Charming, very much. Prince Charming. And I know the holiday, if anyone's listening to this, the holiday season can be tough for a lot of us for many different reasons. And the thing is whether you're in a relationship with a narcissist or you have been and they're still in your life, I find that this is the time too when they really pull away. So, I mean, pull away if you're in a relationship with a narcissist, they may not be intimate with you over Christmas and New Year's. And normally this is a time of connection and family, and you do all the nice things. So when you're in a relationship, but when they pull away, you really notice it. And especially over Christmas and New Year's, because you're excited, you got the time off work. You both might have the time off work, you get to spend it. And these little clever creatures, because let's call them for what they are, the little creatures, again, when we talk about the holiday season, their power is, it could just be something as little as, I'm going to play golf with the guy, and it can be guys or girls. Like, I don't want to single out, but I'm just going to talk about men. Like, I'm going to go play golf with the lads. Yep, see you later. And then they'll start pulling away. So you're at home going, oh my God, we've taken 2 weeks off. I thought the plan was for us to do something. And they're like, oh, just chill. You know how they always have the same vocab. Just chill. You're so, I've been out of it. What's the thing? You're crazy.
I used to be accused of being a drama queen all the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was always like, just chill. If you chill out, then I'll do this. And it's like, oh, okay, just chill and I'll come back. And they never do. But I because I've been out of it for so long, I remember the key words like chill out, don't stress. They have these key words that they chuck at you when you're trying to talk to them, and then what they'll do is start distancing themselves, and they'll be on their phones more, especially around that time. More people are on online dating. It will really ramp up. So when we talk about the holiday season and the narcissists, not only is it when you see them at gatherings or when you are going to your work Christmas party, that's another one. Let's just talk about that quickly.
Yeah.
Oh, memories. Oh man, just had so many flashbacks in one moment. But you have the work Christmas party. So a lot of people are, whether it's a new job and you're excited for everyone to meet your partner, or it's a job you've been at for a while and you just really want to have a night off because you got kids and you never go out, so it's the two of you, and they'll either go to the Christmas party, not talk to anyone, or go to the Christmas party. And then if it's sometimes a shared Christmas party with other thing, you'll see him in the corner talking to another woman, or or if he decides to be on his best behavior, he'll be like the life of the party. And then the next Monday morning at the office, everyone's like, oh my God, your husband or your partner, they're so cool.
Yes.
What they're doing is they're really putting out to the world how amazing they are. So when you do need to talk to someone, they're like, what's wrong with Joe Bloggs? He was awesome at the Christmas party. He's the life of the party.
Yes. You're so right. There's that. They play one of those 3 characters, really, don't they? It's either the I'm going to go and ignore everybody and make you miserable, or yes, I'm going to go and flirt with other people. That's a big one. See that all the time. Or the life of the party.
Especially at Christmas time, like flirt with other people. And flirting can look like this, guys. Like, with a Christmas party, I know over my years, I'd always make sure I have something nice to wear. And on the odd occasion, I might have got my makeup done or got my hair like just blow dried or, done something nice. And I remember on those times with whoever I was with, they'd say nothing. So they'd come from work and pick me up, and I'd sit in the car and be like, okay. And then we'd go to the party and he would comment on everyone else and comment on me. Barbs, you look nice tonight. And I'd be like, oh, not that I did it for that. I did it for myself. But when you're with a husband or when you're with a partner, it is quite nice when you've made an effort for them to look at you and be like, oh, babe, nice tonight. Like, and when you hear crickets and then you go to a function and you hear your husband or your partner going around to, like, even to the old accounting lady that's like 75 and almost falling off her perch, and he would go up to her and go, oh, you look great, and give her a kiss. And I'd sit there going, wow, am I that disgusting? Am I that gross that you can't even give me? And that's all that game. They're playing that game.
They're totally playing the game. And, what happens is, like you said, you internalize it. What's wrong with me? Am I disgusting? Am I not good enough? They want that, because if you feel like that, you're going to stay in the relationship far longer because you don't value yourself and you think you're not good enough. But if they complimented you and built you up and still continue to do these other things like go on benders for 3 days or flirt with other women, if you felt really good about yourself, you would leave. So
Yeah.
it's deliberate. They want to keep you down so that they can keep you in the relationship and keep doing all those behaviors that they do.
And at the Christmas party, like it gets so bad that I just want to normalize this behavior, because if you haven't been in it, you don't understand it. Like I've been with men that I've been at Christmas parties and I've looked across the way and I've seen my partner hand his phone number to someone, and then he goes off with her. Like it's just amazing when you're in it, the things you just allow to happen. And then in those moments, I'm not a big drinker. I can go without, hardly ever drink.
Mm.
But in those moments, there's been pockets of relationships with these guys where we've been out, and I don't know why we do it to ourselves. I'm sure I'm not the only one. I'm like, oh, I feel a bit sad, so I'm just going to have a bit more, and then you have a bit more, and then I get a bit more. Why are you liking other women? And why are you? And he's like, oh my God, drama, fuck off, Barbara. And then what happens is, because they've driven you to that point, and then you drink, and then you get a bit like just trying to say what you're feeling, and how come you're looking at other women? I'm not, you're just fucking jealous and all this, even the voice, you're just jealous and all that kind of stuff. And then so you have a few more drinks, and all of a sudden they'll come up to you and go, oh, I'm going out with them because you're just so annoying, you're full of drama, I'm sick of your shit. And then they go off, and then you're sitting there going, wow.
Yeah, how did this happen? That's deliberate. Okay.
Yes, and I want to highlight that to anyone listening, that if you're at a Christmas party and if you're at a Christmas party and shit's going, I was lucky with one place I worked at, people actually helped me through that and could see the guy that I was dating was that, to the point where the owner's wife said, Barbara, this person's a piece of shit, let it go. Like, she saw my body language across the table. I was absolutely distraught that I was watching him. It was a big awards evening for an industry that I used to work in. And there would have been about, I don't know, 400 or 500 people in this room. And this man was very well known in the industry. And I was watching, I was off my chops by this point, because he was a perfect example. Big event. I had the makeup artist come to my house, nice dress, hair done. And he walked in to pick me up. And he just looked me up and down and said, come on, we're going. And the makeup artist was like, actually said to him, excuse me, she looks really beautiful, eh? Like the makeup artist who doesn't know him actually said, excuse me, she looks fucking beautiful. And he was like, and then we got into the taxi and went into town. And then again, he just completely ignored me and went off with all the guys. And then at our dinner, he was going around this room of 500 people, kissing all these women, talking to everyone. I just sat there and felt like, and I just want to normalize this for anyone listening to this. I just felt like I'd been kicked in the guts. And the owner's wife, the company I worked for, looked at me, sat in front of me and said, Barbara, let it go. He's a pig. Like, she actually saw it. She tried to talk to me and was like, this is unacceptable behavior. And that was really nice. And I had beautiful support that night. I don't think I've ever been, one of those moments I can count on a hand that I got really intoxicated to the point of, it's funny now, I had all my workmates, we all walked to the taxi because we're going to a different venue. And I never forget, we're just about to go into the taxi, and I don't know why, I looked up at the top of the hill. I looked up and saw him pashing, like hard out kissing. I don't even know if you say pashing anymore, but absolutely going to town with this girl at the top of this driveway. And I look up, and as I look up, everyone who was around me was like, wow, let's get Barbara into a taxi. Like, everyone was like, oh shit. So they all kind of like put me into the taxi, and we all went to the next event. And I was just surrounded by the best people then. Like, they could just see my life was crumbling before me. And just, with this absolute drop kick shit of a guy. And that's what I mean, is when you have good people around you, even they will point out to you that it's wrong behavior, and you still will not listen to them.
No.
That's okay. It's normal. But you, if you're listening to this and you hear any of this in anything that you're experiencing, I want you to listen to what I'm saying and go see Kate, or have a chat to me or something. Reach out to us, because it's not okay. It's not normal. And the more of us that talk about it, the more that we normalize it, that this is what happens, but it's not okay. And any of you sitting at a Christmas party and you see this behavior, I want you to call it out, or make sure that the guy or girl that is on the receiving end of this behavior, check in on them and see if they're okay, and maybe give them a glass of water, or give them a coffee, or make sure they get home safe, or make sure they've got enough money to get home safe, because most of the time the narcissist has probably taken their wallet or cleaned out their bank account or something. So really this episode today is not only about people that are dealing with narcissists front on. I really want this holiday season to be about everyone opening their eyes and just making sure the people they love around them are okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's so soul destroying when you're in that situation, like you, Barbara, being at that Christmas party. It's so soul destroying. And the first thing we do when this happens to us is we internalize it and we blame ourselves. And so you're right, calling this out for what it is so that people can really see the signs that this is not okay. This is a form of abuse. They don't have to be hitting you. It is abuse, and that it is not your fault and it's not okay. And I really want people to stop that, because that's the most damaging part. This is where we get the trauma that stays with us for years sometimes, is because we internalize it and we think there's something wrong with us. We think that they are doing these things to us because of us, not to us. We think there's something wrong with me. I'm not pretty enough. I'm too fat. Whatever it is that we're telling ourselves on repeat, that's what happens. And then we justify then their behaviour because we think it's because of us. And so we really need to break that chain to know, for people to know, if you're listening to this, that this is nothing to do with you. They will do this to everybody. There's nothing lacking in you.
Yeah, so this holiday season, if you have recently broken up with a narcissist, this is going to be their time where they get their new partner, flaunt them all over social media, or buy them whatever you wanted, take them wherever you wanted, maybe get engaged. I want people to know that they're not better than you. They're not fixed. How they treat you or treated you is how they're going to treat the other person. It's just a show.
All it means is, and people say to me all the time, what does it mean that they're in this new relationship and it all looks great? All it means at the end of the day that unfortunately that poor new person has now entered the abuse cycle. And so they may be they're in this love bombing phase that may look like it's lasted for a lot longer than what maybe you had. But all it means is that the narcissist needs to love bomb maybe for a little bit longer in order to get them into that abuse cycle. That's, at the end of the day, that's all it is. They've just entered the abuse cycle. They're not getting anything better. They're not getting the life that you should have got or deserved. They're just in the abuse.
Yeah. For people that have kids in this holiday season, with Christmas being such a, I know there's different religions and different beliefs out there, but if we just talk about the general Santa Claus and presents and excitement for little ones, have you got any tips or anything just to help anyone listening that has children with a narcissist that obviously are get together or not together? How can we help them?
Yeah, so really difficult when you're with them. Okay, it's, that's where I really want people to use a bit of that grey rock. Try as much as you can not to react, and it's so difficult. As you said, Barbara, we really need to recognise that and not shame people when they do react as well, because there's so much shame that's attached to these relationships anyway. The last thing that you want to feel is, oh, I've reacted and now I feel bad about that. So no shame, but just what can you learn from it if you do react for the next time? If you're dealing with an ex that's a narcissist and you share children, what I always really recommend is going what you call extreme modified contact, because you do have to have a form of contact, unfortunately, when you share children with a narcissist. You have to, especially if you're in the court system. They want to see that you've got some form of communication. But what I always recommend to people is, especially when you've got a narcissist that's blowing up your phone all the time, sending you abusive messages, sending things that are going to trigger you, you will be heightened all of the time. Your nervous system will be constantly on edge, even if you're not consciously aware of it. Okay, I see this all the time where they're on edge, and especially maybe at night, they send you messages and you're sitting there and you're kind of waiting for it. You're in fight or flight, and then the ping goes off and you get this flood of rush of hormones, the stress hormone, and then you have to reply. So you're always primed. You're always in this fight or flight. So what I recommend with extreme modified contact is even getting something as simple as another phone, okay, a cheap old phone. We often have phones lying around in our drawers, getting a very cheap SIM card. So even for my sons, I have very cheap SIM cards, which I think cost me maybe $5 or $10 a month, putting that into the phone. And what I say to people is, tell the narcissist, I've got a new phone number. You don't have to give them a reason why. I have a new phone number. This is the way that you can contact me on for emergencies, and then block them on your normal phone. And that will instantly soothe your nervous system, because your nervous system won't be prepped and primed all the time to receive those messages. So it will really help regulate your nervous system. And then with the additional phone, what I say to people is, just turn it on once or twice a week. Set days that you will turn that phone on. And often it's, if you're sharing children and the children are going to the narcissist, maybe you'll turn it on the night before. So if there's anything that they need to tell you, that you'll get that message the night before. But outside of that time, that phone's off. Okay. And so those messages they'll bank up. Okay. And you still check the phone, but your nervous system's not prepped all the time. It's not primed. It's like setting a time. You can do those, your breathing before, any other regulation practices that you want to do, meditation before and after, but your nervous system will know on that day is when I check my phone. And then people say to me, but Kate, when I send the children there, I need to, I need to feel soothed, and I get it. I'm a mum as well. I need to know that I'm contactable, like they can catch me. So have the phone on then. When the kids go to him or her, have the phone on then, so that if there's an emergency, they can still contact you. But that is really regulating, and it can be tricky to do in the beginning, but when you do it, it actually works. You can do the same as well if you don't want the phone number. You can do it via email. It just depends on how people want to do things. So you can say to them, I'm no longer contactable on the phone. You can contact me via email. And it's the same strategy. So you still check the email on certain days. It's a strategy that I really recommend, especially when you are getting those messages all the time on your phone and it's sending you into dysregulation and chaos.
I've heard of a strategy. I'd love to run it by you before we wrap up today and just see, because I think the kids at this time of year, you've got school holidays, you've got all the celebrations and all that kind of stuff, and kids going back and forth, back and forth. So there was something that I read too that could be a strategy. Obviously it's not to do with the phone, but the contact is through an app. So some of the court systems through the different states in Australia have certain apps where you can communicate with the app, and it's all recorded and it's all there. And if they need an emergency contact, it's a family member of yours. So say if I had children with a narcissist, the dad to my children would only have access to me through the app, but then if they really wanted to get hold of me, I'd give them my mother's number or something, and then he would have to call my mum to say there's an emergency otherwise. So it's really putting you at the beginning. You said today this episode about boundaries, and I feel like that's a very extreme one. I think people would have to work up to get to that, but I think that's another way of doing that as well.
Absolutely. So that's another thing that I do recommend as well. If people don't want to do the phone thing, is using one of these apps. So the app that I recommend is called Our Family Wizard. So It's exactly like that. So you have to pay. And often I'll say to people sometimes, the narcissists often will say they won't pay their half. So, if you can pay theirs as well, it's peace of mind sometimes. I think sometimes peace is priceless, especially when you are dealing with a narcissist. But that app, yes, so it tracks all of the messages. It's great for someone that's being dragged through the court system by a narcissist, because they are notorious for doing that. So you can print out all of the messages as well. It also regulates messages. So if you've got a narcissist who is extremely abusive and swears at you and all that sort of stuff, it won't allow them to do it on the app. And I think they're a little bit more conscious as well, because they know that it's kind of going through a third-party app. Those messages can be printed, maybe not. Sometimes that will tone them down a little bit. And, you can do all these really fancy things on it, like just set up meeting points if you've got drop-off points and ping yourself when you're there so you don't have to message them. So that's a really good app for people that are happy to pay for that as well. So,
My
yeah.
Family Wizard, is that what it's called?
Our Family Wizard. Let me
Our
just,
Family Wizard.
Our Family Wizard, it's called.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a co-parent app. So it's a really good one when you're dealing with a narcissist.
Awesome. Okay, I'll make a note of that in the show notes. That's really important. And last one for you, what if someone's really struggling to put boundaries into place? Where's a good place to start? Because it can be so uncomfortable to, I don't want my kids to miss out, or I don't want to be a bad mother, or I don't want to do this, when really you're going to be dealing with this person for the next 18 years, or you're going to be, what's something that, I don't know, is there one thing that can start someone off when they're really struggling to put a boundary into place?
Yeah, I think the key to setting boundaries is to remind yourself, even if it's as simple as reminding yourself every day, putting post-it notes up even, to say that you are worthy of boundaries. When we don't feel good enough or feel that we are worthy of these things, it's really difficult to set boundaries. And we can feel mean. Boundaries can feel mean, especially if you're an empath and you're bordering on those lines of maybe being a bit codependent. We feel mean for setting these boundaries with others, of saying no.
Yeah.
And also when you're a mother as well, we feel like, oh, I don't want to be damaging the children. I don't want to have to use this app. Why can't we just be amicable and co-parent? And you can't do that with a narcissist. And what I remind people is your mental health, your sense of peace is so priceless and so worth it, because the saying, we can't pour from an empty cup. And so you have to protect your own mental health when you are dealing with a narcissist in order to be able to give to the people that you love. So whether that's your children or other loved ones. So setting those boundaries, saying no, might feel mean. You might feel like maybe the children are missing out on having this wonderful, amazing co-parenting type situation. But if you try to do that and try to co-parent with a narcissist, they're going to be fine. Their mental health will be fine. They're not going to be drained from all of this. The person that will be you, and your mental health will decline. And then who's going to suffer in the end? Yourself and your children. So really reminding yourself, boundaries are not mean. They are preserving your own mental health. And that is paramount in this.
So there are some really good boundaries. I think there's a really good tip for helping someone, even just us talking about it today. We all know boundaries, but I think you've given some great examples to people for a place to start. But also us just having a conversation about this, the awareness, because they're everywhere. They're in, I guarantee someone listening to this, you've either been with one, you're with one, you work with one, your neighbour's one. And again, it's a holiday season. I don't want to be like poo-poo. Holiday season is when they come out and play.
It can be a really, really tough time of year, especially when you're dealing with a narcissist. So I really want people to know that you are worthy of protection. Your mental health, your energy, your peace is worthy of protection, especially during this time.
Very much so. And so where can people find you? I know that you've got a signature course coming next year that's called the Narcissist Detox Formula.
Yes.
So can you tell us a bit more about that, and then obviously where we can find you?
Yeah, so people can find me on Instagram. So it's at Kate A. Deighton. That's probably the best way to find me, and reach out to me anytime. I always answer any DMs that are sent to me. But yes, in the new year, what I find is, people tend to set their New Year's resolutions, and often one of those is to go narcissist free, finally, and well and truly get rid of them. And not just the one narcissist, but making sure that we don't keep repeating those patterns. And so I have a signature online course that I do, and I open the doors to it a few times every year. So I will be reopening that course, the Narcissist Detox Formula, in the new year. So if that's a resolution that you feel you'll be setting for yourself in 2024, that's definitely the program to jump onto.
And I firmly believe that we need when we're coming out of something like that, whether it's been once or like me, you're like a frequent flyer in this. I definitely got many mileage points dealing with narcissists, but I think it's a really good idea to get someone like yourself to really, it's support. You're getting education, you're getting support, and you're helping break a cycle, break a pattern. And it's really nice having someone that really understands what you're going through.
Yeah, absolutely. Because that's why I'm so passionate about it, because sometimes people that don't understand can unintentionally victim shame, because when you really don't understand narcissism and you don't understand the dynamics of it, if you go into this situation where people almost think it takes two to tango, and when you've been with a narcissist, you've blamed yourself for so long anyway. And if you get a glimpse of that in somebody sort of having that analogy, you'll take it on even more. So really, that's why I am passionate about it and working with somebody that gets it. I get it. I've been there myself, and there's no judgment. For people even to feel like all these awful things that we think about ourselves when we've been abused by narcissists that we don't share with anybody because we're so ashamed of the things that we've felt about ourselves, the things that we've put up with from the narcissist. Sometimes even for my clients to just release that to me and for me to go, I felt exactly how you felt. I stayed, I put up with exactly the same things. And that doesn't mean you're stupid, because we often equate the two. We think that because we've stayed in these relationships that we're stupid, and our intelligence has nothing to do with this. Completely separate. All the women that I work with are highly intelligent,
Mm-hmm.
very strong, capable women that find themselves in these relationships. And for them to know it's not your fault, it in no way takes away from your intelligence at all, I think can be hugely healing.
And healing too, because you've become a person you don't know, you become a person you don't recognize, and they wind you up and push your buttons so much that when you yell at them or you argue with them, you say things that you wouldn't normally say, you behave in ways you wouldn't normally behave, you really like lose it, you really like all the above. You may do drive-bys of their home, like you do all sorts of things that you wouldn't normally do, and you would never tell anyone because you're embarrassed that you were with someone like that, and then you'd never share with anyone what happened behind closed doors, what he or she said to you or how they treated you, and what you actually put up with. The other side of it is who you become as a person,
Yeah,
and your thoughts and what you say and your actions, and you just you come out, you don't know who you are.
yeah,
You don't even know what ice cream flavor you like anymore. You don't know, like, just everything about you is, that's where the support I think comes into place. You can get some help like Kate, where you get direction, support, you're heard, it's safe, you're listened to, because you do things that you just now think back and think, oh my gosh, like it's in the heat of the moment, and
oh,
you're not that person, but they make you do things and say things that you just think, oh my God, I can't believe I did that.
that's right. And that's what keeps us silent as well. It's the thing that we don't talk about our story, and it prevents people from going and getting therapy and getting support because they're so ashamed of who they've become and the things that they've done. I really want you to know, if you're listening to this today, there is no shame in this. Everybody I've worked with, myself included, have done things that we think, why, how did I do that? That's not me. And
Yeah.
it's not you. Okay. Get you out of these relationships, get you into something healthy. I can guarantee you're not going to be having the same reactions. You're not the toxic one. You're not the abusive one. And that I think is the key as well. We walk away from these relationships because we become these people that we don't recognize. Sometimes we even mirror some of the narcissist characteristics,
Mm.
but that's not who you are. okay, you're not the abusive one. We question ourselves. We come away from these relationships and we start to think, maybe I'm abusive.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm the toxic one. You're not.
Maybe
Okay.
I'm crazy. Maybe I'm insecure. Maybe I'm jealous.
Mhm.
Maybe I'm not laid back. Maybe I'm not as chill. I'm needy.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're none of those things. You've just gone through abuse. And this is what abuse does to us. Does
Mm-hmm.
it to the best of us.
Yeah. Thank you. I know I'm always going to have you on at least once a year because it's such a good, I feel like it's such a good check-in process, for that these people are around. And the more you and I can get together and talk about this and get the word out there, the more we can help these people like come out the other end. And I know if I can do it,
Mm.
it's it's I do what I do so no one has to go through what I've gone through. And that's part of the therapy. I don't focus on narcissism, but I damn well sure any client that I've got sit in front of me that I can, what's happening here, I will definitely share what I've been through so I can cut that process for someone rather than them going through it for 38 years. If I can cut it down to whatever, or I can just point them in a direction that they can, get a bit more information or just be curious about something.
Yeah.
That's what I'm passionate about.
Yeah, and me too. And just for people to realize you are not alone and this isn't okay. This
Mm,
isn't okay what you're experiencing.
mm.
Yeah.
Life on the other side is I'm going to get you to share a couple of words. That's the last thing how we're going to wrap up this podcast. I'll go first. What is my life like now without a narcissist? Obviously, I have, anyone that knows my podcast, we haven't prepped for this. We're just going to wing it. And that's why it's so real and authentic. But, okay, the fact that I don't have a narcissist in my life, oh my God, it feels freeing. I get to do what I want when I want. I know who I am and I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid to be who I am. And the cool thing about it now is I can recognize it for what it is and I don't blame myself at all. But I think if someone's going to ask me, what does it feel like to be on the other side? And I still get flashbacks like today talking to you. You would have seen me. I would be like, oh, yeah, I forgot about that. And you have moments where you remember it, but now I can appreciate it. And I wish it didn't happen, but it has. But it's made me who I am today. And it's made me really value the good people I have in my life.
Yeah. Yeah. I love
Really, like
that.
when I meet someone really good and whole and not like what I used to, and I used to attract narcissists not only in a romantic sense, in every sense, work, friendship,
Friendships.
everybody. I had a type and I was so good at that, getting that type. And so now when I meet someone that is, not that type, I really appreciate and honor them, but I honor my own time. And I'm okay doing my own thing, but I always check in with myself. What's my body telling me? What's my intuition? How do I feel? How does the energy when I walk past someone? And what's the first impression I get when I meet someone? Do I
Yeah.
do I like them or do I think they're a dick? And that's pretty much what I go by. And I've got to remind myself every time I meet someone, do I feel good around them or do I not feel good around them? So I'd love to put it to you now. How
Yeah.
does it feel? And your situation is different to mine. You've got 2 children.
Mm-hmm.
So how does it feel being a mum of two kiddies coming out the other end? What are some words or feelings that come up for you?
Yeah. I love that question. I think for me, the key is peace. I feel just this sense of peace in my life. I felt for so long, for me, when I was in the relationship with a narcissist, it's like I felt like I was in like a constant Jerry Springer episode or something. There was just all these highs and lows and drama and it was horrific. So for me, it's just having this sense of peace. And that for me is just so priceless. I can't put a figure on peace for me, that I'm in control of my life now. And for me, I know my sense of self-worth now. That was really lacking for me. I didn't have this sense of I am good enough. I had a very strong I'm not good enough wound. And it's often the thing that I find when I work with my clients when we start to unpack things. But now I know, and we have to work on it. I think
Yeah.
it's a journey. Okay, even as therapists, we still have our stuff. We still have to work on it. But I have a really nice sense of self, and I feel like I am worthy and I am good enough now. And that in itself is priceless, because I was always searching for other people to give me that validation that I was good enough, which is why I found myself stuck with a narcissist, because it was like a cycle of trying to prove my worth to them all of the time. Now the person that knows their worth and proves their worth to them is myself, not other people anymore. And I love that. And I love what you said as well. I really trust my intuition now.
Yeah.
As empaths, our intuition is so amazing. We just have learnt through being with narcissists just to override it all the time, second guess ourselves. But now when I first meet someone like you, Barbara, that first instant feeling I get now, I trust it. I don't go, oh, that's a bit mean, Kate. Don't feel like that. Give them the benefit
Comes
of
up to me every once in a while. I'll be like, oh, Barbara, don't be a bitch. And then I go, oh, I think I've earned, no, I can be. It's okay. Like it's interesting that we put it onto ourselves when we don't like someone and I've got it wrong still a few times. I've let people, business and personal, into my life since I've gone through the whole healing and the whole narcissist thing. There's been a couple of cracks where I've let people on a business sense or a personal sense, and it's been 6 months or 3 months, and all of a sudden I've gone, oh, there it is again. Bye.
Yeah.
But so it's not, for me, it was not still, I know I'm going to still get these lessons in my life, and I've recently had them, one business, one personal, where I let them in. I was like, oh, this is great. And all of a sudden, really quickly, one or two things happened, and I went, yeah, that's not okay. Out you go. When before I would have over delivered or over promised, or I want you to like me. I just went, oh, the thing I just say now is you're not my person. And I say that to my clients. It's a really cool way of, if you're in a group of friends, and a thing I hear all the time is women that have been friends with people from primary school and then high school, and then you all have children together, and then you all start meeting other people, and the 3 becomes a 5, and then 2 go behind someone's back, and some people get invited to this and this, and we grow apart. That's normal. That's life. And then what I always say is, just think of it as, are they your person or are they not your person? Because it's actually okay. There's so many billions of people now in the world online. You don't have to make connections face to face all the time. It is nice, but you can make connections like you and I. We're talking now. This is a connection. And I think the more it's balanced is more when you have healthy connections, you know how good it feels. And then when you meet someone, like I said, I haven't got it right recently. And then I was like, oh, actually, no, you're not my person.
Yeah. And that's how we know we've healed, because narcissists will come into everybody's life. And when the key is to know when we recognize those behaviors and we allow them to exit our life. They're still going to come along. I still meet narcissists all the time.
Do you? What do you notice the most?
I notice the lack of empathy. I notice the grandiosity, the way that it's always somehow comes back to them all of the time. I notice how I feel when I'm around them. If I feel that my energy is drained, that's a big one for me. And I listen now. So that's the difference. When we know we've healed, we know that I don't need to fix this anymore. I don't have to prove my worth to this person. I don't need them to like me, and I'm okay with that. And I let them leave.
Perfect. I love that. Not everyone has to like us. Not everyone will like us. It's okay. But to take our time, listen to our intuition, to feel what our body's trying to tell us, and to, then decide.
Yeah. And know that you're worthy of that. You don't need other people to like you, because the person that likes you, that matters, is you.
I didn't even think liking yourself was a thing, eh? Like, no. I didn't even think and considering my business is called Self-Care Studio, I thought self-love, really knowing yourself, and this was only a few years ago. Like I used to think, oh, wankfest, who actually really loves themselves? Who has their own back? Like, yeah, whatever. No, it's a real thing.
It absolutely is. And it doesn't mean that you're narcissistic or you're cocky or any of those things. That's not what self-love is. But liking yourself and liking who you are, knowing who you are, yeah, we need more people feeling that way.
More people in our club, and I always word it as having your own back. That's the best way I can describe it. But thank you, because I know this episode is going to come out exactly when everyone's going to need it. And thank you for your time as always.
My pleasure.
And I wish you and your family a Merry Christmas. And I look forward to seeing you next year.
You too, Barbara. Thank you so much again, and we'll chat soon, hopefully.
We absolutely will.
Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and it has inspired you on your self-care journey. Please feel free to share this with a friend and subscribe over on Apple Podcast. I really love hearing your feedback, so guys, please feel free to write a review on Apple and let me know which part of this episode resonated with you the most. To fall in love with yourself is the first secret to happiness. To find out a bit more about Self-Care Studio or the Studio Chat podcast, head over to my Instagram page, self_care_studio, or on my website, selfcarebybarbarathomson.com.au. Really look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Look after you. And I'll catch you soon. Bye!